Buenas estudiantes. Welcome to another online video lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about el pretérito. Alright, subtitled, Let's Get to the Exciting Part. Alright, so in this lesson, we're going to be talking about the preterite tense in Spanish. And the preterite tense in Spanish is one of the more often used past tenses. Along with the imperfect tense, it's the one that's mainly used to narrate stories and events in the past. Alright, so the uses of the preterite tense. Alright, first one we're going to put up here is going to be action. So when you're talking about the action in a story, the events that just like boom, pop, and take place, those are going to be done in the preterite tense. Another thing that the preterite tense is used for is specific periods, specific time periods. So if we're talking about days of the week, months of the year, hours of the day, or even whole years, all in one idea, that's going to be preterite tense. So when you're talking about a specific time period, use the preterite tense. Another thing is for completed past actions. So we might not know exactly when that action started, but we definitely know that the action is done. And finally, the last thing I'm going to put up here is sequence. So if we're talking about sequence, the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is I wake up and I take a shower. After my shower is done, I usually brush my teeth. And it's kind of backwards, but after that I go and eat something. But you get the point. So if we're talking about the way we do things in sequence, alright, so each one of those things that happens first and second and third and next and after that, that's going to be the preterite tense doing that thing, doing that job right there. Just like with the imperfect tense, our preterite tense is going to have some visual concepts. Our visual concepts for the preterite tense: first one I'm going to put up here is just going to be an X. And the interpretation that I put on the X visual concept is something that is immediate, something that is abrupt, something that wasn't taking place and then all of a sudden it was, like when I snap my fingers. The next visual concept I'm going to put up here is a timeline with a specific start point and a specific end point. And so that is what we're talking about with our specific time frames. Or our specific time period. And the last visual concept that I'm going to put up here is a stop sign. Right, and our stop sign is going to be those things that we know that they're done, but we don't necessarily know when they started. All right, so the time frame there, the timeline that we have over here would have a specific start time and a specific end time, and it took place in between that time. The stop sign means we don't necessarily know when it started, but boom, it is done now. Unfortunately, the formation of the preterite tense is not quite as easy as the imperfect tense. So with the imperfect tense, we were able to put those into two nice families, the AR verb family and the ER/IR verb family. We won't be able to do that here with the preterite tense. But we definitely do have different AR verb endings and different ER/IR verb endings. And so we're going to take this verb hablar. I'm going to put that into its forms. Alright, remember, in the conjugation chart, it always works the same way: first, second, third person, singular on the left-hand column, plural on the right-hand column. I'm going to go ahead and fill this in with the subject pronouns: yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros and nosotras, vosotros, and vosotras. Remember that this one is only used in Spain. And then we got ellos and ellas. And ustedes. This is just a conjugation concept, so once again we are going to isolate the root of that verb by removing the infinitive ending. Remember that the infinitive is the most basic form, so if I talk about the verb hablar and it's got that AR infinitive ending, that just means to speak. Alright, so the infinitive has not been assigned a person yet. But if we take that verb hablar and we want to put that into the yo form, we're going to take habl, which is just the root of the verb, and our ending that we're going to put on there for the preterite tense in the yo form is going to be e. Alright, so the letter E with an accent, and that means I spoke. In the interest of saving time, I went ahead and edited out my writing in of all the roots in all their places, and so now we have the root in every single one of these verbs, and we're just going to tack on some endings. The two form ending for the preterite tense AR verbs is going to be haste. Alright, so yo form, yo hablé, I spoke. Tú hablaste, you spoke. For the él, ella, usted form, it's going to be o with an accent, hablo. For the nosotros form AR verbs, we're going to get amos. Alright, so hablamos. For the vosotros forms, we got hastes. So we basically take this haste and add is to the end of it. And then for the ellos, ellas, ustedes forms, we add aron. So ellos hablaron. Alright, so there are your AR verb endings in all of their forms. Alright, the formation of the ER and IR verbs is going to be the same, but I'm going to do an ER verb first, and then I'm going to do an IR verb afterwards. And so what we're looking at here is for the yo form, vender, is the ER is going to go away. And we have just the root filled in to all of our boxes, as we usually do, and we're going to put E. I with an accent. Alright, that's the yo form, vendí. Alright, the to form is going to be iste. Alright, so in the ARs we had haste, in the ERs and IRs we go to iste. And in the él, ella, usted form, for the ARs we had just O with an accent. For the ERs and IRs it's going to be I, O with an accent, so pretty similar. The nosotros form for ARs went to amos. The ERs and IRs both are going to go to imos. And then vosotros, I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to take this iste over here, and we're just going to add an is to the end of it, so istes. And then for the AR forms, they went to aron, and the ER, IRs are going to go to yeron. Alright, so those are your conjugated endings for the preterite tense in an ER verb. And for our IR verbs, we're going to have the exact same endings here. Alright, and then what we're going to need to do is take this verb salir, which means to go out or to leave. Alright, and we're going to isolate just the root. So we're going to cut off this IR infinitive ending. Get rid of that thing. We're going to take sal and we're going to put it into all of those places. And there you have it, the verb salir conjugated in all of its forms. So once again, the yo form stays the same, yo salí. Tu form, saliste, él, ella, usted, salió. Nosotros salimos, vosotros salisteis, and ellos, ellas, and ustedes salieron. Okay, so now we're going to see some of these verbs in action in the preterite tense. So I've got these three sentences. We got Marcos y Evelyn. We got the verb correr del colegio. As you guys can all see, this verb right here is in the infinitive form, so that can't possibly be correct. We'll be correcting these things in just a second. In the second sentence, we got nosotros comprar el carro el viernes pasado. And then in the final sentence, we got tú escribir la carta en junio. Alright, so here we go. We're going to take Marcos y Evelyn. Now, once again, if we're talking about our handy dandy little chart that tells us how to or helps us with conjugation of verbs, Marcos y Evelyn is not on that chart. So we got Marcos, which is a boy, and I'm not talking to him, I'm talking about him. And we've got Evelyn, which is a girl, and once again, I'm talking about her, not to her. Both of those are third person, so what we have is we have third person plural. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of this ER ending on the end of it. Alright, so it was an ER verb, which means we are going to want to take one of our ER verb endings, and we want the third person plural version of that ER ending. So we're going to have Marcos y Evelyn We're going to have Marcos y Evelyn corrieron. We're going to take nosotros and comprar. And once again, we can't have an infinitive at the end of this thing. It's incorrect. So we're going to get rid of the infinitive ending. And we are going to have nosotros. This is an AR verb. It's in the nosotros form. We're going with amos. Alright, so compramos el carro el viernes pasado. We bought the car last Friday. And once again, can't have infinitive endings in our sentences. Once again, we can't have infinitive endings if we have a subject pronoun. And so what we're going to end up with here is tú. It's an IR verb, which means we need the iste ending. Tú escribiste la carta en junio. Alright, so there are 3 sentences with preterite tense verbs. Remember that the preterite tense talks about things that were immediate or sudden, like someone running from the school would be immediate or sudden. It's also used to talk about specific time periods. Alright, so nosotros compramos el carro el viernes pasado. We've got last Friday right here. And so that has to be preterite tense, which it is. And then same thing with this last one. En junio tells us a specific time frame when it happened. It happened in June. So you wrote the letter in June, and that is that. All right, that's going to go ahead and sum up this lesson. One thing that we didn't talk about that you may have noticed is the irregulars in the preterite tense, but that's going to be a whole other video because there are a ton of irregulars in the preterite tense. Thanks for joining me in this lesson, guys. I will answer any questions that you guys have in the comments, or if you send them to me by email. But if you have a question, let me know. I'll get to it.